Hello colleagues, Roberta here, and confessing I was that foolish instructor who failed to hit the record button on the Meet session last night. So I'm going to drop you a video here that will attempt to recreate what it was that we did and what we discussed last night. So here you go. So here was the agenda last night. I started off talking about social presence and what it is and why it's important for online learning. And then people took turns sharing the tools that they had investigated this week. I jumped in and talked about some other tools that were really good for engaging learners, for giving feedback, and doing formative assessments. And we looked ahead to the assignments that are coming up next week, and then there was time for questions. So, social presence. I would define social presence as the feeling that students get when they're in your course that they are connected to real people, that there is an actual human being that is doing the teaching, that they have opportunities to connect with their co-learners in the class. They have an opportunity to express themselves, express their emotions and their feelings, and to make the human connection with others in their coursework. And it's incredibly important for learners. The research is very clear on that courses with high social presence have students who experience far greater success. So I included these pictures in here, and just they're face-to-face teaching, obviously. And when you look at them, think about like when you're a student and the instructor walks in the room, you're immediately sizing up that instructor, and you're noticing what they're wearing and how they're walking and how they carry themselves, and hearing their vocal inflection and the glint in their eye if they have a sense of humor, and all those things, all that humanity matters. It matters that there is a human person that's doing the teaching. And so if we're not careful, we can lose this social presence, this human element in online learning, which can feel very isolated. So we have to be very intentional about creating social presence, and there are technology tools that can help you do that. So here are some ways to enhance your online social presence. You tried out Flipgrid this week, and you can see that that's a free and easy tool that allows students to hear your voice and to see your face, and also to hear each other's voices and see each other's faces, and to engage with each other in a way that's more human than just via text. So I hope you like that tool and that you'll feel comfortable using it. And then many courses also have threaded discussions, and those could be very, very powerful ways that you can engage with each other's ideas, especially if the discussion is about an open-ended topic, something really worth sinking your teeth into and having a good discussion or debate about. And so those are discussions really help with social presence. The Welcome to the Course video, you saw an example of the one that I created for our course in Screencast-O-Matic. And that gives you, as an instructor, gives you an opportunity to share some things about yourself and your family, and to establish that you're a real person. Starting off your week with announcements. In Blue Quill, those are in the form of the course communication objects that you drop in, or any other extra videos that you might record and put in a week for students. Those are all good things to do. Of course, emailing and phoning students and giving them personal one-on-one attention through either email or phone. Very good things to do. And then offering online office hours in Zoom. Everything in Zoom doesn't have to be a formal Meet session. You can just say, look, I'll be online in Zoom from this time to this time on this date, and feel free to drop in and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And that can be a good thing for students as well. And then it's not just instructor to student, student to instructor presence that's important, but also student social presence with each other. And having students collaborate is a good way to establish that, and we're going to take a deeper dive into that next week. And then the last thing on my list here is anytime you ask students to reflect, and to by reflect meaning express their personal meaning or their own personal connection to the content. When you allow them to do that and then you hear that and give them feedback on it, that is a human touch and a human connection that is really valuable to do as well. So I encourage you to try that. So one more thing I wanted to point out about Flipgrid, and you all had sort of a basic experience with it and had a chance to post your videos. But I wanted to point out too that you can respond to a video with a video. And you can see if you look at Greg there, right there, the first one to the right of the plus symbol, you can see in the top right there's a circle icon and in my face, and that is where I did a video reply back to what Greg had said. And so you can have threaded conversations where it's not just text-based, where it's actually people's voices and faces. It's a little more akin to what would happen in a face-to-face class, where you would actually talk to each other. And so that's something that you can go back and play around with in Flipgrid. If you didn't do a video response to one of your classmates, feel free to try that out. And today I went in and did video responses to all of y'all. So you should see those circles next to your post and you could see how that works. So this was the portion of the Meet session where people took turns sharing the tool that they had investigated and asked them two basic questions. Talk about your tool, what does it do, and how might you use it? So Fred started us off, and he talked about his experience with using Flipgrid, but also just with using Bluequill in general. And Fred had a very interesting point about Bluequill, wondering how can faculty learn more about using Bluequill, especially new faculty who might be teaching a course at Franklin for the first time. And so we talked about the Center for Teaching Excellence, the CTE, at Franklin, and the fact that it provides a whole host of professional development opportunities for all kinds of teaching skills, including Bluequill. And so if any of you would like more information about what the CTE offers, let me know and I can hook you up with them to get you signed up for their courses if you want. So Fred also expressed a really great concern about using technology in courses and the time that it takes to set these things up. And I offered to him the idea that if you have a desire to use technology but you don't feel like you have the expertise or the time, let your lead faculty know and ask for an instructional designer to help with the process. And I also shared that in many of the courses I design as an instructional designer, that I actually go in and set up the technology for the faculty. For example, in the doctoral course, HCM 820, I integrated Flipgrid for them. What I did was I went and set up the Flipgrid account, and I created a discussion post for each section of the course. I wrote the instructions for the instructors how to use it and instructions for students how to use it, and basically managed that process and helped make it kind of a turnkey thing where the instructor could just use it and they didn't have to put the time into actually creating it. So if that kind of help is something you're interested in, definitely talk to your lead faculty about it. And then finally, George talked about his concerns about accessibility in technology, which is a really important consideration when you're choosing technologies. And just something as simple as being able to change a font size can be really helpful to students with a visual impairment. And so doing things like hosting your videos on YouTube where they can be automatically closed captioned, that's important for students with a hearing impairment. And then I pointed out that Microsoft Immersive Reader integration in Flipgrid is a super cool thing. And you could see on the screen there the blue icon with the book and the speaker that's inside the red box there. That's any app that you use that has that symbol, that's Microsoft Immersive Reader. And so it allows users to do all kinds of things to help them. They can adjust the size and spacing and the color of the text, helpful for the visually impaired and for people with dyslexia. It also will read any text that's on the screen aloud at a speed that you choose in either a male or female voice. And it does even more things than that, and you should definitely check it out. You can go see yourself if you go into our Flipgrid and click on that icon. You'll see more about it. Next up was Scott, who showed us MindMeister, which is an online mind mapping tool that lets you brainstorm and develop and share ideas visually. And Scott thought it would be very useful to use as a project management tool, pointing out that multiple users can brainstorm collectively in real time, and that some of its features include the ability to attach documents, visuals, even links to websites inside your mind map. And he was also very excited about MindMeister's ability to turn a mind map into a list of actionable tasks, and also that MindMeister has the ability to allow users to upvote and downvote ideas on a map. And then finally he showed us that MindMeister can turn a mind map like this here into a slideshow presentation. And he sees that MindMeister could be easily used for project planning, for brainstorming, and for note-taking. Very cool tool. George showed us Pinup, which is a virtual corkboard. And you can add pins to the board, which can be dragged or dropped wherever you want them on the board. You can create pins that look pretty much like post-it notes, and these notes can be lists. As you can see there, the pink one in the middle, like a checklist. You can also type on them, like the green one on the left, and you can even draw one, like my slightly disturbing face in the bottom right there. And George showed us that you can also pin things like videos and files, which is very cool. And he liked that students can use this collaboratively and saw that it would be a really good tool for project planning kinds of tasks and for note-taking. And then I added that I had actually designed some lessons using Pinup where students actually were asked to curate content about a topic or a concept. And for example, a student could create a board about the Battle of Gettysburg, and they could include photos and primary source documents and videos, and then add notes commenting on the things that they had chosen, or maybe commenting on key events. So you could actually build an assignment around it, which would be pretty neat, I think. Zena talked about RefWorks, which is a free tool that all Franklin faculty and students get for free. And it's a great thing that we get it for free. This is a pricey tool if you have to buy it on your own. And Zena shared that RefWorks helps students organize their sources when they're doing research. When they find articles and books and other sources, they can add them to their account and organize them in folders by course or topic, and then they can share these folders with each other and with their instructor. And I mentioned that when I teach, I often will create a folder of resources for my students in RefWorks and share it with them. And the key thing that will amaze and encourage students to use it, though, is its ability to create a properly formatted citation from any resource that you've collected with just a few clicks. So you need a perfectly formatted APA citation. RefWorks can do it without very much input from you. It will even create your entire bibliography or references page. And then we talked about ways that we could teach students how to use it, because it does help to have someone show you the basics and walk you through. It's not super incredibly intuitive. And Zena mentioned that the library does provide a video tutorial for how to use RefWorks. So if you're pointing students to this resource, you can go to the library site and find that tutorial and share that with your students. And then Zena and I have both used librarians we've invited them to come to our meet sessions and do a quick tutorial for students to teach them how to use it. And you can ask a librarian to come do this. It's easy to do. There's an online link through the library where you request a librarian for a date. And they're happy to come in and do it, and they do a great job teaching it. And then we both agreed this is a powerful and underutilized resource. Students could be so much more successful at writing good APA citations and citing their sources if they would just use RefWorks. So I hope you guys will encourage them to do it. Holly T. shared her experiences using Prezi, which is a presentation tool. And in her opinion, it has some advantages over PowerPoint. And in the chat during the Meet session, she shared that the science says Prezi is shown to be more effective than regular slides in a double-blind study of Prezi versus PowerPoint. And Prezi was found to be more organized, more engaging, more persuasive, and overall more effective in capturing learner interest. So some things to know about Prezi are: it has really beautiful templates that you can use to help you create a visually appealing presentation. Prezis differ from PowerPoint in that they have a lot of motion and fluidity to them. They're far less linear than PowerPoint slide decks. It's very easy to share a Prezi online. After you create it, you can get a link to share online. You can also add narration to a Prezi if you want it to be something that people watch, that you're not presenting it during like a live Meet session or something. If you wanted to just be kind of like the video that I'm doing now, you can add narration. And the biggest thing is that it makes it super easy to deliver a non-linear presentation. So if you need to jump around your presentation in response to questions or in response to what your audience is interested in, it's much easier to do this in Prezi than it is in PowerPoint, which kind of goes through from the first slide to the last in a very linear order. And then while playing around with Prezi recently, I noticed that they have added a video creation tool that allows you to record yourself. And not only does it allow you to record yourself, it actually hosts your video in your Prezi account and gives you a shareable link. So there are fewer steps to creating a video in Prezi than in almost anything else that I've seen. So now I'm not paying for my Prezi account, and I think that's probably because I've had it for so long, like since Prezi started. But currently I don't see a way to get a free account anymore. It looks like it's all paid. So that's the only downside that I can see to Prezi. But Holly's right. It's beautiful. These presentations you can create are very pretty and very engaging. So give it a try. Next, I started sharing a couple of my favorite tools, and the first one is one that I use quite a bit, and it's called Socrative. And Socrative is one of those many free online tools that you can use to do formative assessment and give your learners immediate feedback. And by formative assessment, I'm talking about the kind of assessment that you do where you take the temperature of what students know and where they're confused before you get to the quiz or the test. So those things are summative assessments that happen after all the instruction is complete, but instructors also need to check in with students to see what they're understanding before they get to that point. So Socrative is a good tool for doing that. It's web-based, and you create slides that have questions on them for students to answer, and then students can access the Socrative quizzes either with a phone app or they can do it online. And you can deploy these things with students a couple different ways. And one way that I like to do it is to create a quiz that has maybe 5 or 6 questions, and then as I'm teaching, occasionally I will pause my teaching and I will shoot one of the questions out to them and ask them to answer. And they usually will pull out their cell phones with the app and answer the question. And then I can see in real time who understood the concept or who didn't. And that allows me to adjust my instruction on the fly, which is really cool. And then I'll go and teach some more and get to the end of another concept and then shoot them the second question and so on and so forth. But you don't have to do it that way. You could teach in a chunk and then at the end say, okay, everybody get on Socrative and go ahead and do all 6 questions, and you can let them do it at their own pace. So here is, on the screen now, this is one of 6 in this deck of questions. And this is true or false, and students just click on it and submit the answer. And this is a look at the instructor side of it, where this is, I've logged into my free account, and then to create a quiz, I just click on where the red box is, where it says quizzes. And it takes me into this screen, and I can see that I've already got one quiz created, but then I would click in the top right there with the button where it says Add Quiz, and I could add a new quiz. And creating a quiz is super easy. You just decide what kind of question you want to ask, and you can see down in the bottom left there, multiple choice, true, false, or even a short answer, free response. And it gives you a template, and you type up your question in the top, and you type in your answer choices in the boxes. And if you don't have 4 answer choices, you can delete the rows, or you can add extra rows, and then you click on the one that is the correct answer, so Socrative knows how to grade it automatically, and that's pretty much it. And to add your next question, you just click one of those other buttons to select the question type, and you keep going. And then when you're ready to launch the quiz for your students, you have choices. You can launch it various ways. The most common one is the quiz. That's the one that I showed you, but you can also launch it as a kind of a gamified space race, or even as an exit ticket. And then down at the bottom you see quick question. So let's suppose you think of a question you want to test your students on, and you haven't included it in what you already pre-typed. You can add a quick question on the fly, and just click on that and tell the students verbally what the question is. And then capture their responses, and then you just have to make a note to yourself of what your quick question actually was. So here it is. Here's a quiz deployed, and this is question 1 of 5, and you can see I have A, B, C, D, E choices, and students would see this and submit their answer. This is what it looks like when you deliver a space race. And you could set up space races to be individuals against each other, or you can have students work with a partner or a team, and they can compete. And how this works is they're given all of the questions at once, and whoever answers them correctly and fastest moves their rocket ship from left to right and gets to the finish line. And you can give them points for, if they get all the way to the end, then they get points, or you can be super competitive and say whoever gets there first gets the points. Anyway, it's just kind of a fun way to gamify this. And then the last way that you can deploy Socrative is to use it as an exit ticket. And an exit ticket is just a teaching strategy where as students are getting ready to leave class for the session, you check in with them to see how it went. And so this is a template it gives you for that kind of activity. How well did you understand today's material is the first question, and then there are 2 others that are similar. And so you could just take the pulse of the class and how they're feeling about their understanding of the material, which is a really nice strategy to do. So in Socrative, if you click on results, you can see how all the students in your class answered each question. And so I look at these results from Ethel, Fred, Lucy, and Wilma, and I could see, wow, I really rocked teaching of whatever question number 3 was. Everybody understood and got that right, but holy cats, look at number 2. I'm going to have to go back and do some reteaching because only one student understood that. And so you can share the screen with the class, and typically if you do that, you want to click on the thing where it says show names and click it so the names do not show, so you could just show the overall class results. And so that's a useful thing to do. So from the student side of things, all they have to do to get to your Socrative activity is to enter your room name. They go to a link, you give them the link socrative.com, and the link that's on the screen there, that's actually the direct link that if you're putting it in a course, you could say just click on this link, and then whatever the name of your room is, you can let them know what that is. They type it in and they can join. Or students can just go to socrative.com and then click a button that says log in as a student, and then enter the room name, click join, and they are in. It's just that simple. No registration required or anything. And of course, there's an app for that. There's actually 2 apps that you can get for Socrative. There's a teacher app that lets you create and manage your quizzes. And there's a student app that the students can use. And I really like using the teacher app on my phone during a Meet session, because even though I have dual monitors, which makes putting my slides on one slide and my Meet, like my Zoom window on the other, it makes it pretty easy. When you add in Socrative as a third thing, all of a sudden it gets kind of complicated. So having Socrative on my phone separate from the other two things is very, very helpful. So you might want to try out that app. So the next type of tool that I wanted to talk about are the kinds of tools that allow you to take a video and to turn it from a passive video watching experience into something that's far more interactive. And Edpuzzle and PlayPosit are two tools that do this. So what you can do with them is that you can add interactions to a video. And for the free versions of these, mostly it's YouTube videos or Vimeo videos. But you can also, you can upload any video that you create. You could create your own YouTube channel and upload your video there and use Edpuzzle or PlayPosit to create these interactions. So that's good. So what are these interactions like? They allow you to do things like pause the video and ask students to respond to a question. And then it gathers the information about how they responded and puts it in a gradebook, so you can assess what they got out of the video. You can also pause a video and put in a comment, or kind of point out things that you want students to notice, or you can ask students to reflect and to type in some text reflection. And these kinds of tools are really good because students can get immediate feedback on their answers. And then you get feedback, so you know who watched the video and who didn't. You know what the learners understood from the video and what they didn't. And it also can save you some time, because if you choose to have A, B, C, D or true-false kinds of questions in there, then they will be auto-graded. And then lastly, these tools allow you to do things like trim videos and combine video clips from different videos into one video watching experience. So let's say, for example, there's a YouTube video and it's really long. It's like 40 minutes long, and you want students to only watch a portion of it. You can trim the video so students, when they click on a link to it, they only go to the specific part that is important for you to have them watch. So these are great tools, and we'll go ahead and take a look at those in more detail. Here's what Edpuzzle looks like. And this is an Edpuzzle that I created for a video series that a professor wanted to use that had to do with slavery. And it was really high quality videos, but she was fairly certain that her online students would not actually watch them unless she put these kind of assessment questions in them. So we added some interactions, and you can see wherever the green question marks are on the timeline at the bottom there, that's where the interactions are. So it would pause the video, it would ask students to respond to one or more questions about what they had just watched, and then students would be allowed to go ahead and watch the rest of the video. And all of their answers got put into the electronic gradebook that the instructor could then go and see. Edpuzzle allows you to crop the start and stop points, but you cannot crop out, like, you cannot identify, you can't just like chop out a section in the middle. So like on occasion you may want to like skip over a part that's in the middle. You would actually have to have that as two parts in Edpuzzle. The next one I'm going to show you, PlayPosit, allows you to crop out in the middle, so that's an advantage. Other things you could do, you can add your own notations or your own captions that appear during the video. You can add voiceover or your own audio notes, and so check out Edpuzzle. Pretty cool for making your video a more interactive experience. Here's another look at an Edpuzzle slide, and you can see that it paused and the interaction pops up on the side next to the video. And here's the other tool that does similar things, PlayPosit. And in some ways it's a better tool because, like I said, it allows you to cut out parts in the middle of a video, and students will watch the video and not even know that those parts are being skipped over. It seamlessly goes from the the two parts that you've left and just chops out the part that you don't want. But it's my second choice because the free version is starting to lose features, and now you have to pay for it to do a lot of the things that it used to do for free. So I'm not too thrilled with them for that. But you can see this is like the screen where the instructor would add the interactions. And to do it is very simple. You just grab your timeline and you pause where you want to add an interaction, and then you click that blue Add an Interaction button. And then it gives you some templates for types of questions that you can add. And you can see that there are multiple choice, there's select many, there's true false, there's enter a short block of text. Lots of different options, probably more options than Edpuzzle. But as I said, this is getting to the point where you need to pay for some of these features. So, second choice. And then the last tool that I demonstrated was Quizlet, which is a tool that allows you to create a way for students to practice and to study. It works really well for vocabulary, where you have things like terms and definitions. But you could do it for other things, but it really lends itself to vocabulary type things. And this particular Quizlet is one that I made for nursing students who were taking a course in legal aspects of medicine. And so they were learning lots of new vocabulary, all the new law vocabulary. And I went in and I created a database almost of terms and their definitions. And then students can use that in Quizlet to practice their understanding in different ways. They can just treat it like flashcards where they see a term and then they have to flip it over and know the definition. They can test themselves and create a practice test out of it. And then there are games like matching and gravity and some other things that I'll show you here. So if you play it as just a question and answer and just testing your own knowledge, it's what it looks like on the left there. And so you can see there is the definition, and then you have to pick the right term below and click on it. And then it gives you immediate feedback if you're right or wrong. And you can see on the right is the feedback. If you get it wrong, it tells you what the correct answer should have been. It tells you what you said. And another cool thing that it does is it puts that particular question into a pile of the ones that you need to review, which is helpful. And this is the matching game. So now I didn't have to create a separate game. It's taking those same terms and definitions that I made for the Quizlet, but it allows students to test themselves in a different way. And this takes the same questions and terms and definitions in a matching game. And if you grab one of the terms and you drag it onto the proper definition, then both the term and the definition disappear. And so the goal of the game is to clear your board by matching everything. And you can see on the left that it has times in there, and you can see everybody else in your class what the best time was, so you can get competitive and try to beat everybody's best time. So it makes it a little bit fun to study vocabulary that way. This is another way to play it. This is the asteroids game, and I think this is one of the hardest ways to play Quizlet. You actually have to, when you see a term, you have to type the definition in the box, and if you do it right, then the asteroid blows up and it doesn't hit Earth. But until you get it right, that asteroid keeps sinking down and can destroy Earth if you don't get it right. I think it's kind of hard to do that way, but students seem to like it. And then once students have finished an interaction with one of the Quizlets that you've made, they get this report. And it'll tell them, here are the ones that you miss most often. These are the ones you really need to study. And then here are the ones that you missed a couple of times. You're okay at those, but maybe think about studying those too. So it allows them to know what to focus on and what they have to go through again maybe to get it right. Alright, so that was the tools for this week. And looking ahead to next week, we're going to be taking a closer look at implementing active and engaged learning in your class, and asking you to consider, of the things that we've talked about, the tools we've looked at and the strategies we've talked about, what are you willing to implement? What do you think you can actually do, and what will it take to do it in your own courses? What do you see as the benefits? What do you think are the challenges? And we'll talk through that. And then we'll also take a look at using technology to enhance collaboration. And we'll look at technology tools for collaboration, best practices for managing collaboration, which can be challenging. And during next week's Meet session, say that 5 times fast, you'll actually experience using breakout rooms in Zoom, which is a great strategy for doing something other than delivering a lecture in your Meet session time. And we'll look at flipped classroom as a strategy, and you'll actually experience what it's like to be put into breakout rooms to work with a group, to collaborate, and then come back into the main session of a Zoom session. So that'll be big fun, and I hope you can all attend the live session, because it won't be the same just watching the video of that one. So if you can attend it all next week, live Meet session, please make sure that you do so. If you have questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. The easiest way to get a hold of me and the fastest way is always by email, but I am happy to take your phone calls or to meet with you in Zoom or Skype or however you want to do it. So if you have questions, please make sure to let me know. Always happy to answer them. Thank you guys, and I will see you online soon. Bye-bye.